Hello and welcome to eCOVID. The eCOVID platform is a free service that catalogs the best available guidelines from across the globe to provide you with the most up-to-date and reliable recommendations for COVID-19 and help you contextualize them to meet the needs of your local setting. With the declaration of the pandemic back in March 2020, researchers from around the world with an expertise in guidelines swiftly came together to create eCOVID and have continued to work on it since. eCOVID is a collaborative effort between multiple institutions, including Cochrane Canada, the World Health Organization Collaborating Centre for Infectious Disease, Research Methods and Recommendations at McMaster University, Evidence Prime, the Norwegian Institute of Public Health, and the Guidelines International Network, among others, and is funded by the Canadian Institutes of Health Research. So let's get into what eCOVID is and how you can use it. There are two main functionalities of eCOVID. The first is that it acts as a one-stop shop and searchable, centralized resource for the most up-to-date, valid, and reliable guidance for COVID-19. The second overarching function of eCOVID is to actually help you contextualize the guidance to meet your unique needs. Let's first begin by taking a tour of the first function, eCOVID's repository of recommendations, and then we'll get into the contextualization features. Okay, so I'm on the eCOVID homepage where I can find COVID recommendations through a list view or through something called a recommendation map. I personally am curious to see all recommendations that have been issued on ventilation, so let's just search that. Alright, from my search I'll be taken to the list view where I can find all guidance related to ventilation. On the right-hand side there are different filters you can apply to narrow down your search. You'll notice that eCOVID is really comprehensive. Your search will yield different types of guidance you would find in a clinical or public health guideline. So this includes things like recommendations, good practice statements, and additional guidance. Let's click on the first recommendation. Here I can find the full text of the recommendation, the strength of the recommendation, additional information, and the source of the recommendation. But that's not all. I'm a critical consumer of health information, and so I want to learn about the quality of the guideline that this recommendation comes from. This information can be gleaned from the Agree ratings, which give me a score on the methodological rigor of the guideline across 3 key domains. The higher the score, the more boxes have been ticked for that domain. And if you tend to sometimes forget what these things mean, you can always hover over key terms or click on the information buttons to jog your memory. Additionally, eCOVID also has a glossary of key terms that you can reference at any time. And just for good measure, let's also explore additional forms of guidance in the list view. Here is a good practice statement, which also has the features I showed on the recommendation page, with the addition of how the statement meets the good practice criteria. Okay, on to the recommendation map. A recommendation map is an online repository of recommendations from several guidelines on one condition, here COVID-19. It provides links to the underlying evidence and expert judgments that inform them, and allows users to filter and cross-tabulate recommendations by population and intervention. Interventions are featured along the top, and recommendations are listed on the side. Each bubble represents the number of recommendations you can find in each cell. Selecting each intervention heading will display a more exhaustive list of interventions with relevant populations along the side. As in the list view, you can narrow down the map using filters. And if you ever forget any of this, not to worry, you can simply click instructions at the top for help. So that's great. We've just learned how to use eCOVID as a centralized and comprehensive source of COVID-19 guidance. And now that we've found the guidance we need, how do we actually apply it effectively? Remember, there is a second key function to eCOVID, and that is that it also serves as a tool for contextualization. On any of the recommendation pages, you will be able to request assistance for adultment using standard methods and software. Very quickly, adultment is a fairly new term that has been added to the lexicon of epidemiology and refers to the adoption, adaptation, or de novo creation of recommendations, all of which are plausible courses of action in the contextualization of guidance. We are working hand in hand with researchers, guideline developers, health software engineers, and end users to deliver an electronic service that bridges the gap between health guidelines and the grassroots public health and clinical decisions we need to make, so that we can face the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic equipped with a vital tool, the evidence. And this is good for all of us. Please keep up with our progress by following us on Twitter, and don't hesitate to reach out to us at canada@cochrane.org.